full grown adults of Reddit, what things do you still hide from your parents, as if you were a kid, and why? More or less exactly like when I was a kid. I stay in my room and avoid them at all costs. My room's just a whole house now and it's way easier to avoid those nut jobs. How much I actually spent on that thing? Completely agree. There's the real price, then there's the dad price. That I swear like a sailor. Any of my debauchery between the ages of 16 and 22. Happy Cake Day, and I grew up in a religious family where they pay tithing a 10% tax basically on all our money to the church, so I ended up just hiding my money from them so I wouldn't have to pay that tax. So out of habit I make sure whenever my parents come over I hide my cash so they won't bring up the topic. I too grew up Mormon and my grandmother still tries to get me to go back even though I have no interest in it. It always felt super scummy that a church wanted 10% of all of my income. Frick that noise. 10 fricking percent. Tax those frikers back. It's really ingrained too. Even when my grandmother was losing her house she still made sure to choke up enough for the church to be satisfied. They start you young too. I started getting an allowance of $10 a month at 6 years old just so I could be taught to give the church $1 before I could have my 9. How much I drink. Alcohol isn't taboo in my family, but my tolerance is bananas. I'm not trying to get in Wile's business, but my conscience wants me to say this to anyone reading. I used to be really proud of my tolerance, and then 5 years ago I won the battle for my life by getting sober. If you think you might need help, please seek it. If not, keep on having fun. Hey man, I appreciate concern and my tolerance isn't something I'm proud of at all, but as of now I still drink responsibly and it hasn't interfered with other parts of my life like work or family. Again, really appreciate the thought and congrats to you for conquering that. That I was a professional dominatrix in my early 20s. That's a lifelong one. That I'm fully vaccinated. I don't know if 16 counts, but I moved out. Got job and I'm completely independent, so I suppose I'm an adult. My disdain for religion. My mom's a JW. They are nice enough people and they do read the Bible, but they do archaic it like shun people, yet claim they aren't shunning people by calling it being disfellowshipped. I think the big 3 religions are all violent misogynistic death cults. I've never told my parents that I'm on antidepressants. I was originally diagnosed at 17. But my mum flushed my pills and told me depression wasn't real. I finally have meds and therapy that help, but I've never mentioned it to them, because I've seen how they react. The ex-toys. I'm gay. They wouldn't like it. How much some stuff cost. The frequency of horse cleaning. In a way, my partner. Are you dating a horse? My feelings of how I still can't forgive them for not helping me when I was sexually abused for years, starting at age 2, everything swept under a rug and never discussed again, childhood lost. The fact that I have a relationship with my fairly recently discovered half-siblings, or that I have half-siblings in the first place. I thought I was an only child until I was 59 when I found out dad, is not dad. Also, I haven't told dad he is not my dad either. My half-siblings rock, by the way. When my parents come to visit, I hide all my junk food at a friend's place. Drinking alcohol. Being raised by very religious parents, apparently I'm still not allowed to make my own choices in my mid-20s. Freaking everything. My parents are emotionally abusive. I can't share anything with them without them making fun of me for it and sharing with all their friends, acquaintances, other family members. So eventually when they asked me what I did in school that day, I just answered, not much. I haven't spoken to my dad in over a decade, my choice, and I only talked to my mum a couple of times on the year on the phone and only visited when there was a wedding or graduation. And even then I tell her as little as possible about my personal life. My hatred for them both. All incomings and outgoings. I loaned some money off my mum a few years ago as a down payment on a house, and I pay her back every month a considerable amount that we both agreed upon and she was happy with. It's almost as much as my mortgage payment. But every time I make reference to money, she says you earn X much and you're only paying me back Y. I only earn Z, so I try to avoid that conversation. Not me, but one of my older cousins still won't smoke in front of her dad. She's in her late 40s, early 50s. He obviously knows that she smokes, but she says that she's just never felt comfortable smoking in front of him. I have a hidden snack cubby in my house for when my mother and sisters visit. I grew up with the strict rule that we should not ever be greedy with food. So if I bought myself a bag of chips, but my sister wanted them, I had to give them to her, because I needed to share. This was always something that frustrated me, because I don't fight for food, but I do work hard for the snacks that I get myself. I am now 30 years old with a guy I've been with for 8 years, and I hide my snacks like a squirrel, because I don't like to share. So when my mother or sisters come to visit and they see me eating something they want, I tell them that they just need to find my stash and they can have as much as they want. You want my snacks? You have to work for them. I keep my masturbation habits secret to this day. They'll never know how much a freak my wife is, and me by extension. But that doesn't matter. Happy Cake Day, fam. I can't swear around my dad. Never have been able to. Same with my in-laws. Mama Ajorna. My ex-life. They don't need to know anything about it. How bad my mental health is. I don't want my mum to worry. Also how bad my failed marriage was. I know she won't judge me, because it happened, but I just don't want to talk about it with her. Everything. They still treat me like a kid. Only recently I'm beginning to see that like a kid with them is actually just emotionally, mentally abusive and controlling. That I read tarot cards. My parents are ultra Christian, but like, you wouldn't notice it 90% of the time. They just act like normal parents. They swear. They drink. We watch horror movies. Whatever. They didn't try to ban me from reading Harry Potter or anything. But when I came home from college and mentioned that a girl on my hall taught me to read tarot, they lost their it. They were convinced demons were going to haunt me. My grandma doesn't know how to STFU, so my parents leave her out of everything. My income. I don't hide anything, but my girlfriend has been living with me for over a year and her family doesn't know. Like, she lies and fakes stories about how she spends her days on her apartment. She is afraid that her mum and grandma would make a fuss over us living together as they are a little old-fashioned. That I'm healthy all my food. How much I hate my siblings. When I forget or drop the ball on something. I haven't done my taxes yet, because I need a W-10 from a job. I lost it, and haven't been able to get in touch with an actual human to get a replacement. I've got ADHD and part of that is procrastinating due to time blindness. She bailed me out a lot as a kid, helping me with school projects at the last minute. I didn't get diagnosed until relatively recently, so I think part of her thinks that it's still me being disorganized or lazy. I once had a dog for 3 months and never told my parents. New tech toys for the house, and how much it likely cost. That's money that could have been saved. Well, a lot I guess. But it's not what you think. I was talking to my mum one evening, recalling some of my childhood and telling her about all the things I and my siblings would get up to back when we were all still living at home. Both my parents worked full time, so the 4 of us, brothers and sister, had lots of free time to explore our world, as children will. I guess you never really think of your kids that way. That they can get up to so much mischief totally under the radar. We made a great team, the 4 of us. The unknown scourge of the neighborhood and some of my fondest memories. But, those were simpler days. As we all grew older and had families of our own, my siblings and our so's would regularly meet at my parents' for some cards. One night, we got to talking about our childhoods and the fun things we used to get into. She was horrified. She eventually asked us to stop reliving our exploits or her head would explode. She knows we would tell her anything she wants to know, but as they say, ignorance is bliss. I live with my parents and I like to have a few beers every now and then. I buy a 3-pack and I keep it hidden from everyone. I have a cooler in my room that I discreetly fill with ice and keep them cold. Then when everyone is asleep except my brother who spends all his time in his room with the door shut, I pop them out and drink them late at night. When I get drunk I am usually just on my computer watching YouTube or whatever. I hide it from them because I don't want to drink in front of my mum. I have a feeling she will say what you are drinking. And my dad used to have a problem with alcohol. Not anymore, but he does not drink. So yeah, no one has ever caught me though. Atheism, because my family is toxic and would never accept it. That I drink and I have tattoos. Despite I knowing both these things I'm still embarrassed to show it in front of them. Whenever I buy myself a pint of ice cream, it's locally made and better than any other ice cream ever. I make sure to bury it under the 10 tons of it in the freezer. Because if my mother catches it she will blow it out of proportion like I just admitted to smoking crack. Part of me thinks she leaves to be a drama queen sometimes. And that's all for now. Make sure to like, subscribe and click that bell notification for more /Reddit network videos. Thanks and come again.